Today we're learning how to make this beautiful black and yellow presentation in PowerPoint all the way from scratch, all with animated slides for which you don't need the morph transition. So we're using all the basic transitions in PowerPoint that have been around for a few years, so you can use it in whichever version of PowerPoint that you have available. The slides are pretty dynamic and can really up your level of presentations. Personally, I really like this black and yellow style of presentation because of the opportunities that it brings. Now, if you like this style of presentation, I've made a full 50+ slide deck in the same style available via the link in the description below that you can use for your projects, your business. And if you sign up now for a year, you'll get a 15% discount. And this is the color scheme that I've used for this presentation, so feel free to pause the video and copy them to your presentation. Let's start from a blank slide and we're going to add a nice background image. For that, we'll go to the Insert tab, Icons. If you work on a Windows, it will be Insert Picture. Go to the Image tab, and here we're going to look for a nice architecture image, and then we scroll down until we find one that we like. Let's go for something more robust. This train track looks quite nice. Select it, click Insert, and then we add it on full screen. This designer tab is really helpful. It gives you some options if you add an image to instantly add it full screen. If you want to turn that on or off, you go to the design tab and you can turn on or off the designer feature here. The next thing we want to do is we want to go to Insert and add a nice rectangle over the entire image. So all the way from the top left to the bottom right, remove the outline, and we're going to make it dark. Right click, format shape, fill, and we're going to give it a transparency of about 20%. Now we want to add our title. So for that, we're going to insert a text box, and here you can type your title. Let's go for welcome, make it white. As a font, we're going to use Avenir Next, and as a sub font, we're going to use bold. Increase the size. Let's try 100. And then increase the edges a little bit. Center it in the middle, arrange, align to center, and that way everything is nicely positioned in the middle of your slide. Right click, format shape, text options, shadow, and now we want to add this little shadow effect to the text. We're going to use the standard option, and then you can play around with the transparency or the blur size, the size of the text. It's just a subtle touch, but I think it does that little extra to your presentation. We're going to add a subtitle, and for that we're choosing a rounded rectangle shape. Place it in the middle of your slide. We're going to remove the outlines and make sure we have the correct yellow available. Now here you can type in whatever you want. So let's type in black and yellow presentation. Select the text, go to Home, Avenir Next, change the font, make it dark. And as a sub font, let's use bold. Increase the font size until you are happy with the result, and then you can play around with the settings if you want more or less margins. I'm quite happy with how it looks right now. Let's scroll out. That way you have a nice overview of the slide. If you want to zoom in or out of your slide, you can hold the Control key and scroll forward or backward. Backward to zoom out, forward to zoom in. And if you zoom out, you always get like a nice overview of the slide from a distance. Now we want to animate these two items, so select both. You can hold the Shift key to select both items. Go to Animations, and we want to use the Fly in effect. Open the animation pane, and now let's play around with the timings and the effect options. Options, I like to use the smooth end, because that way it is not such a harsh end, but it kind of rounds off and eases out at the end. It looks a little bit better if you ask me. The second one, the subtitle, I want to add a little bit of a delay, not too much. Let's try 0.2 seconds. And the duration, I think we can set it to about 1.5 seconds for both of them. And let's see what we have created. And now if you look at the opening slide and you click, it will nicely highlight the title and subtitle on your screen in a very modern way. And you don't have to use the morph transition for this. So the good thing is that you can use it with any version of PowerPoint. That brings us to the second slide. And for this, we're going to make a SWOT analysis. Right click, new slide, remove the content. Let's format background. and give it a dark background. That way it aligns nicely with the initial slide that we've created. Let's give this one a title. For this, let's try SWOT Analysis. I'm going to use all caps, change the font to Avenue Next as well, subfont, let's go for that bold again, and make the title font yellow, center in the middle, and let's go for 36. Place it nicely in the middle of your slide, and now let's make the elements for the SWOT analysis. You can choose whichever shapes that you like, but I'm going to use this rectangular shape with that little snip or cutout at the edges. Drag the shape on your screen. You can hold the Shift key to scale them equally. If you don't hold the Shift key, you'll get some distortion, so hold the Shift key for a nice rectangle or even-sided shape. Hold Ctrl and Shift to drag to create a copy, and you can either drag it while holding Shift to rotate it, or you can select both, Ctrl Shift drag, rotate and flip horizontally. This way they align nicely with the rest of the slide. Group them together, so Ctrl G or right click group, and place them in the middle of the slide. Now I'm going to ungroup them again, and the top right one together with the bottom left one, I want to remove the fill and add an outline shape. Maybe a little bit more, add some weight to it. 2 points, that's too much. Let's go for 1.5. That looks a lot better. This way we don't use 4 of the exact same shapes, but we kind of emphasize the quadrants a little bit. Now let's add some text to the slide. I'm just going to copy this title here, reduce the size of the text box and position it in the center of one of our blocks. Remove the text and let's add the letters. So W, increase the size. Let's maybe go for 52 and center it in the middle. Drag a copy to the other one. This is going to be the S of SWOT. Of course, we have to change the color, and then we're going to copy them once more to the bottom right and the bottom left. Change it here, O and T. Now let's add some dummy text here. So drag a box for a title. This one we're going to call weaknesses. Change the font, make it white. Change the font to Avenue Next, and we're going to make it demi bold and maybe just a little bit smaller. Now let's add a second text box below it and paste in some dummy text. I'm going to use the subfont ultra light and then reduce the font size to about 12 or 14. Depends a little bit of how much text you have available. Select both boxes, center them or place them on the right side and align them until you like it. Hold Ctrl and Shift to create a copy. Select all 4, hold Ctrl Shift, drag them to the left, arrange, align to right, and also center them to the right or align the text to the right here as well. Then we change the words, so strengths, weaknesses, O stands for opportunities, and then T stands for threats. And this way we have created quite a nice looking SWOT analysis slide, but now we want to animate it. And for that I'm going to group the letter S and the box. Going to do the same for the W, so Ctrl G, select both Ctrl G, and then we're going to select them one by one. So hold the S, hold strengths, the title and the text, go to animations, and let's add a fly in animation. We want to have the effect from the left, so it flies in from the left side. And we're going to do the same for the other letters. So select them, fly in. This one we want to fly in from the right. O, opportunities and text, fly in from the left again. You can do it all at once, but I kind of like to do it in groups. That way the animation pane is already quite organized in the order that we want it to be. And last one, the T, fly in, effect options from the right. And now we want to play around with the timings. So we want to have everything appear on the click. Let's put maybe everything to 1.75. That way it's a little bit slower. And we want to add a little bit of a delay to the title and the word. So for that, let's type in 0.2 for the strengths title and a delay of 0.4 for the text. And we're going to do the same for all the other titles. So the weakness title, 0.2, 0.4, opportunities, 0.2, and the text becomes 0.4. And the last one, the threads, 0.2 and 0.4. Select all of the animations, effect options, and also here we're going to add the smooth end. Now let's preview and look at what we have created. And if we now click on the SWOT analysis side, we can see the strengths fly in. On the next click, the weaknesses fly in, the opportunities, and eventually the threats. And I kind of like the effect that if we click, I'll show it once more, that the title and the text, they come in at different speeds. I just think that adds that little bit of an extra dynamic motion effect to the slide. And that brings us to the next slide, which is going to be the bar charts. So for that, let's create a new slide, remove the text, format background, make it dark. Let's copy our title, SWOT analysis, and let's call this bar charts. Now for the bar charts, we're going to use lines this time. So select the line, put it on the left side, click, hold shift, and drag it to the right. We're going to use a lighter shade of gray for the lines, increase the weight to about 2, and then we're going to create a copy. So hold Control and Shift to create a copy. This one, we're going to make it yellow, and we're going to increase the weight to, let's try 6 points. You can hold Shift, and then you can play around with the length of the bar. So let's put it a little bit over halfway, and then drag it again on top of the slide. And this way we create the effect that our line acts as a completion bar for the bottom line. So it will give quite a nice effect. Now let's add some text to the slide. And for that, I'm just going to copy some of the existing fields that we have. That way we don't have to redo all the formatting and we can speed up with the process of the slides. This could be a title of your bar chart, and let's copy it once more to add a percentage. Let's do 30%, align to the right. And then 30%, that means, of course, it has to be 1/3 of your slide or of your slider effect. Group everything together, and now we're going to copy it 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Doesn't have to be spaced out exactly the same because we're going to hold Shift, select them all, arrange, align, and distribute vertically. This way they are evenly aligned. Select them all, right click, ungroup, or hold Ctrl-Shift-G if you want a shortcut. Now let me add some more text boxes to the slide, so let's copy those, give them some dummy text, call this lorem ipsum sit, and we're going to reduce the font size by just a little bit here, and maybe also add some extra paragraphs. That way it will look like a realistic slide. There we go. And then maybe copy it once more with a shorter paragraph to have some explanation on the slide. I'm going to reposition the bar charts a little bit more to the left to have an equally balanced slide. Now let's change the numbers to the percentages, 50%. Let's do 175%, maybe a 35%, and a small one, a 15%. Then we adjust the length of the bar, 50%, that's about halfway, 75, oops, that's a bit too much, 35, and 15, which is going to be around here. And now let's animate the slide, but I don't want to animate everything. We're going to animate the highlights only of the slide. And for that, we're going to add a rectangle to the left until it meets the start of the bar charts, remove the outline, and we're going to make it a dark, the same color as the background. Now we're going to select all of the lines while holding Shift, that way you select them all at once, animations, and fly in, effect options from the left. And that way they kind of appear behind that rectangle that we have created. If they don't appear, or if you do this step earlier, you have to bring this one to the front. And now let's also animate the text. So select the text items, fly in, and then from the right this time. Open the animation pane, and now let's make sure that everything goes in at the correct time. So we can see we have the straight connectors here all at once. We can select those, and we're going to add a little bit of a delay to each of the bar charts. Let's go for 0.2 seconds for the second one. That means the third one becomes 0.4, the next one becomes 0.6, and then the last one eventually becomes 0.8. The text, we have the title, dummy text, title, dummy text for each paragraph, which now flies in all at once. And I also want to have that little delay here. So the title comes in first, the paragraph, that can be a 0.2 second delay, second title, 0.4, and then a 0.6 again. I've added this on a click. Maybe I should do this with previous. That way everything happens at once. And then of course this we have to change to 0 because we don't want any delay on that part. So that is correct. Now let's preview what we have. And we have the basis of our slide. And if we now click, we can see that the bar charts fill up and the text pops in nicely from the right. You can change with the animation speed if you want. So if you select them all, you can change it to maybe 1 second to have it a little bit slower if it was too fast. And then if you click, everything nicely flies in and the bar charts fill in with the correct numbers. That brings us to the fourth slide, and for that we're going to use some pictures. So let's create a new slide, deselect all of the elements, format background, and let's also make it dark. Now we're going to insert shapes, and let's start off by adding a nice column to the slide. Make sure it meets the top and the bottom, remove the outline, make it yellow, that doesn't matter for the moment, and then you can hold Ctrl and Shift and then drag it downwards, and that way we have equal spacing from the bottom and from the top. Hold Ctrl Shift to create a copy, match it with the previous one, do that once more until we have 4 columns, and then drag them to the side until you have equal spacing on the top and the right. Now we're going to insert some nice pictures. So go to the icons tab and look for stock images. Let's stick to the architecture theme and look for some nice architecture images. This one looks quite good. Let's use this one. Scroll down a bit, maybe an overview of the city. And then we can reuse this train track. That looks nice. Add them to the slide and we can scale them down a little bit. What we want to do is, because we're working with this black and a yellow type, I'm going to make all the pictures a gray tint. So right click, format picture, go to the picture tab, color corrections, and here you can make them black and white. And I'm going to do that for each of the images. There we go. And this one already was in black and white, so we don't really have to do that one. Put them to the side. Now let's reshape the pictures, or make sure let's stack them on top of each other, because we're going to make them as large as or at least as large as the shapes in the background. You'll see why in a minute. We select the first image, Ctrl X, and select one of the image bars or the shapes, because we're going to add the image, format shape, picture or texture fill, and then use clipboard. Check the tile picture as texture, and that way we nicely position the picture in here. You can play around with the offset number if it doesn't really focus on the exact part that you want. There you go. Do the same for the other ones. Picture fill, clipboard, select the checkbox. Do the same for the other ones. Clipboard, check the tile section. Maybe shift this one just a little bit less or a bit more, -300. It's always playing around with these settings a little bit. And then the last one, picture fill, clipboard, and check the title. Let's try -200. There we go. Then we have some nice curvature and the sky visible. Now let's zoom in on the slide, and let's also add some dummy text to make it realistic. So I'm going to copy the title, subtitle, text. We're going to reuse that, paste it on the slide, align everything to the left, arrange align to the left. Let's reduce the size here, and I can change this to dummy text, lorem ipsum. Let's make a larger title. There we go. And then the paragraph, we're going to make it a bit smaller as well. That looks quite okay. And now we're going to add that little extra touch. And for that, I'm going to create a shape and drag a rectangle over the first image. And now I'm going to drag a rectangle across the first image. Remove the outline, make it yellow, and we're going to make it transparent. So format shape and add transparency 20%, looks about right. Let's look for an icon. So go to the icon library and let's look for plant And you can really select any icon that you want. So in this case, let's go for a building because we're in the theme of architecture. So let's use this one. For the second one, let's go for city. Let's look for a train. Then we have a train track and maybe a bike. Let's go for a bicycle. Insert 4, we're going to give them the dark shape fill and we're going to just put them to the side here. The first one we can grab and we can position it in the center of the first pillar here. Let's copy the lorem ipsum because we're going to add some text here. Reduce the sizes, center it in the middle, make it dark, reduce the font size, and make it bold. Maybe medium should be good here. Maybe let's try bold. Demi bold. There we go. Copy the text box, copy some dummy text, make it light, reduce the font size, and then center it at an equal distance. So that is the content for the first one. Now we're going to select the icons and the text together with the yellow shape, and we're going to copy that 3 times, 2, and once more 3. The icons, we're going to replace them with those. So send them to the front first, and then position them correctly on the slide. Train tracks goes well with this one, and then the bike. You can really choose your own icons, so it doesn't really matter. So now we have the slide, and next we want to animate it to make it look quite interactive. First, I'm going to add a rectangle shape here at the bottom, so we can add a nice animation similar to the previous slide. Remove the outline and make it dark, the same color as the background. Select the icons, hold Shift and select the yellow panel, right-click Group or Ctrl-G. It doesn't work if you select all of this, because if you group it, then you'll also take the background image, so we don't want that. So that's why I select the icons first, hold Shift, and then the yellow strip on top. Do it once more for the third one, and then the last one. There we go. Now we can select these 4 grouped items, go to Animations, and Fly In. Effect options from the bottom, that is correct. And let's open up the animation pane. The text animation, I don't think we need that for this slide. We can remove it. The purpose is on the 4 blocks here. Select them all. The duration, I think we can set it to 1 second. Smooth end. And now we also want to animate the outro. So these are the 4 intros. Let's already set it to on click. There we go. There we have all the 4 blocks fly in on a click that we want. If we preview it for what it is right now, I click, it appears, click again, it appears. But I don't want to have them all visible at the same time. I want to add a little extra touch, the out animation. So select the 4 panels again, and I'm going to use a fade out animation. There it is. So we add 4 fades, and these fades we want to position somewhere in the correct order. So we click first for the first panel to appear. Then if we click again, the second panel will appear, and at that time the first panel should fade out. So with previous after the second click. The second panel can go after the third click, and the third panel can go after the fourth click. That means we have 1 left over, the fade out for the last one, and if you want that, you can do it on click. Now let's see what we have created. And like this, you can do the introduction of your slide, and as soon as you click, the first panel will appear. You click again, the second panel will appear. Click once more, third, and then eventually the fourth, and then once you click, it will go back to the original slide. And that brings us to the last slide, which is going to be the quotes. And let's create a new slide, remove the items, make it dark. Let's copy the title from the bar charts. Let's call this review, maybe customer reviews. We're going to add some shapes. Start off with a rectangle, drag it here on the screen, maybe make it a little bit wider. Hold Ctrl Shift to create a copy, drag it upwards, drag it downwards so it meets the bottom and overlaps the bottom. And for the second one, we're going to remove the fill and add a yellow outline. This way we create this nice card that we can use. I want to go to the Insert tab, Icons, and look for a quote icon. Quote. I'm going to use the single quote, add it to the slide, make it yellow, increase it in size just a little bit less, There we go. And then position it on the top of the card. Let's add a text box here in the card and add a quote or some dummy text. Reduce the font size. Maybe 11 is too small. Let's go for 12. And this could be your customer review about your product, about your service. Then of course we can also add some details of whoever wrote this. This could be your customer. Let's call it, give it a name, John Doe. Avenir next. This can be bold, demi bold, maybe font size 18 will do. Create a copy with a italic. This could be his job role, make it smaller. And we could make him, yeah, doesn't matter, I'll just add some dummy text. It could be his function, his company. There's different ways to fill this in, of course. So we can add a picture of our customer here. And to make it match the slides, I'm going to make it in black and white first. Let's go to Format Picture, Crop. First of all, we're going to crop to shape. Let's make it a circle. And then crop to aspect ratio 1:1. Position him in the middle. And then let's add him here to the card. Hold Control if you want to scroll and zoom in deeper. And then position him nicely in the middle. I've also added a drop shadow to the image. There we go. That way it stands out a little bit more. I noticed that here for our box we still have an outline, so we can remove that. That way everything looks quite clean. This box we can group it all together and copy it 2 more times. Let's center this one in the middle and then position them equally on the slide. And I've forgotten the little icon here, so let's copy that as well. So I'm going to select the 3 cards. Go to the Fly In Effect, Animations pane, flying from bottom, that is correct. Let's open the animation pane. And then I'm going to select the quote marks. And this one I'm going to add a little bit of a different transition or animation, and that is a basic zoom. And if we time this well, it will look quite nice. So select those and they can start with previous. But now the timing is quite important. So for the first block, we want to have the first graphic, the quote, appear after that. Second block, we want to have the second graphic appear, and then for the third grouped item, we want the third icon to appear. I'm going to select the group items, add a smooth end to them, that way it flows nicely. And for the delays, I'm going to add increments of 0.3 seconds. So 0.3 seconds, 0.6, 0.9, 1.2, and 1.5. And you'll see why in a second. That way, if the card pops up, the icon will pop up nicely behind it and everything will look quite smooth. And as last thing, we want to select the animations and change them to 1 second. Now let's preview. And now if we click for the reviews, we can see that they nicely populate on the slide and the timings look quite smooth. So today we have learned how to make this beautiful black and yellow presentation in PowerPoint all the way from scratch with nice animations for which you don't even need the morph transition, and you can only use the basic transitions that have been around for quite a while in PowerPoint. You can add some bar charts, make them animated, and your slides can really come to life. We've also looked at the picture slides where you can animate and explain everything one by one and you're really in control of your presentation. Personally, I really like this style of presentations and I'm really happy with making them as well. Now, if you like this style of presentation, I've made a full template available in the same color scheme, in the same style, with all practical day-to-day slides that you can use. You can download it via the link in the description below. Thanks a lot for watching, and if you want to learn more about PowerPoint, please watch the video on the screen right now.